Greetings to our YouTube subscribers worldwide. I'm Coach Ervin, and with me is Coach Brian. We are 9.09er. Sir Brian here got the perfect 9 in IELTS writing, so maybe he'd like to give us an overview of the 2 tasks and the 4 criteria before we focus on vocabulary.
IELTS writing is divided into a couple of tasks. We have writing task 1 and writing task 2. Writing task 1 will depend on your module. We have the general training module in which you're supposed to write the letter, and we have the academic module in which you're supposed to write an academic report, whether it is a process report or it is a statistical report. But for writing task 2, it doesn't really matter what your module is. It's going to be the same test. You're supposed to write an essay. And I know a lot of people are not fond of writing essays, but you have to write a 250-word essay in the span of 14 minutes. You're also going to be graded according to 4 band score criteria: task response, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammar. We're going to talk about all of those in future episodes probably, but for now I would like to emphasize one aspect of the 4 different criteria by which you're going to be graded, which is your vocabulary. A lot of people struggle in writing because they don't have good vocabulary. They don't know which words are appropriate for writing task 2, which ones they should be using for writing task 2, and which ones are going to help them to increase their potential of getting a good score in the IELTS writing component. So today, in this video, we're going to concentrate on increasing your aptitude to score higher in this aspect of the examination by giving you some words or some phrases, perhaps, that you can use in your writing examination so that you can increase your chances of getting a better score.
I'd like to share with you a struggle of IELTS candidates. If you have a rather limited vocabulary, you're not going to finish the 2 tasks on time. Remember, writing task 1, at least 150 words. Writing task 2, at least 250 words. Approximately 20 minutes for task 1, around 40 minutes for task 2. So you're given 1 hour to come up with 150 plus 250, that's at least 400 words.
True.
So this is the privilege when you are a recognized IELTS agent, not just locally but internationally, because we were invited to attend the International Conference on English Language Assessment that took place in Shanghai, China in December of 2017. And there I met big bosses of IELTS in the region who gave us an idea that around 20% of the candidates cannot
20%.
finish the examination, maybe because they do not have plenty of words to use as alternatives in the writing component. So that's the point of this handout right here. If you've watched our previous video, we've mentioned that this is an enumeration of the alternative words that you can use in order to avoid repetition. Now, we would like to emphasize that if you visit nineronline.com, if you're our reviewee already, all you have to do is to click Access Your Dashboard. You have plenty of PDF handouts, downloadable and printable, and the good part, there are sentences that will give you an idea how to use them in, or there are examples on how you can possibly use them in a sentence. But Sir Brian, what if they are not yet enrolled in our Platinum Review Dashboard? Do we offer a free trial that they can possibly
Yes, we
enjoy?
do. You just have to go to www.ninerenglish.com and try our courses for free. We have a free trial there, and if you want to subscribe, you can also purchase from the site.
So let's talk about the types of questions in writing, because they are going to give you an idea usually what IELTS examiners want you to come up with in the writing component. So there's agree or disagree, discuss both views, there's do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, and open-ended questions. Now, speaking of these 4 questions, the first entry to express a general point of view. For sure, because you're asked to agree or disagree with something, or you're asked to discuss both views and give your opinion. For sure, these words come in handy.
Yeah, very
Instead
useful.
of just using I agree, I disagree, where more than 50% of the candidates worldwide frequently repeat or overuse these words, here are 9.09ers alternatives. One could be, When you express a general point of view, you might want to write according to popular belief, blah, blah, blah. So this is an example of how you can possibly open your sentence. Well, it does not contain any big words, but it's not something that IELTS examiners encounter regularly when they check your outputs. Another example, the prevailing belief is that, and that's when you finish your sentence. At 9.09er, we don't teach our candidates to use complicated language because for some, it might work, but not everyone has the capacity or mental ability to sustain that kind of writing style until the end of the writing task. That's why
Correct.
we're going to give you examples that are easy to adopt
Yep.
so that you can bring them with you when you take the actual exam and you won't belong to the 80% of the candidates who cannot finish the two tasks on time. You might also want to write, it is commonly assumed that,
Wow.
or something like, it is a widely held assumption that.
Mm.
These are interesting phrases that are out of the box and do not usually appear in most writing tasks. So,
Yeah.
Sir Brian is going to discuss the second item. For the second item, like what we've mentioned, IELTS usually asks for your opinion, whether in speaking or in writing. If you watched our previous video, we covered this particular topic, but in speaking, it has to sound conversational.
Yep.
But in writing, there's a different tone. So, Sir Brian, let's consider the second item, stating an opinion.
To state your opinion differently, there are alternatives that we can offer from this handout. First, you could say, I would argue that. That's a very strong way of starting your opinion sentence. Or, my impression is that. Or, perhaps you could say, I cannot deny the fact that. It seems to me that. Or, I am of the opinion that. Instead of writing, I agree or I disagree all the time.
Notice what's the language in writing? It's scholastic. The tone is formal. And in the speaking subtext, it's you having a conversation with your best friend. That's why there's a difference in the language when you write and in the language that you're going to use in the speaking component. In our previous videos, we've mentioned words that you can possibly use to replace in addition. Like you can use furthermore, moreover, additionally. We also gave you an idea of words that you can use when you show that you do not agree with something. Say, for instance, however, on the other hand, nevertheless, in contrast, on the contrary. But in the writing component, you are always required to write examples. Meaning to say, if you fail to present an example that supports your argument and reason, do not expect to get at least 7 for the first criterion, which is task response. That's why this handout comes in handy when we share with you alternative words when you show examples or enumerate examples. Instead of just writing for example all the time, let's take a look at these alternatives. 1, take for instance, or number 2, a textbook example of. Number 3, particularly. You can even use namely or an ideal illustration of this is. Those are alternatives that you can use instead of just writing, for example, like 3 times in your entire writing task. So we're done with giving examples. Adverbs are an essential part of writing because usually you use adverbs when you express or when you show consequence, effects, or result. So, Sir Brian, let's take a look at these adverbs or phrases that candidates can use to improve their grade in lexical resource and to avoid repetition.
Let's start with conjunctive adverbs. For instance, you can use thus, therefore, or hence. These are very academic terms that you can use when you're expressing a result or an outcome, but you can also use phrases for this part of the examination. For example, you can write for this reason, or you could probably say as an effect or in effect, and also as a result. These are some expressions that you can use in your examinations just so you don't actually have to use the same things over and over again, because there's a tendency for some candidates to just say therefore, therefore, therefore in every paragraph, and that can be very repetitive when the examiner sees your work.
Sir Brian has plenty of model essays in writing.
That's
You can
true.
check our website, nineronline.com. You can also check our YouTube videos when Sir Brian came up with a writing task 1 and writing task 2 on the spot. And the way I see it, an essential component of Sir Brian's writing, use of modifiers, adjectives, adverbs. That's why right now I'd like to share with you some of the helpful adverbs when you want to emphasize a particular idea. You can use exceptionally, or
Wow.
remarkably,
Mhm.
incredibly, noticeably, distinctly. If you'd like to have a full list of the alternatives in order to avoid repetition, don't forget to visit ninerenglish.com. You sign up for your free trial, or you can have the full access for only 13 US dollars per month, and that's the most affordable English test preparation in the world. If you have suggestions, just send us an email, a Facebook message. We always listen to whatever you have to say because that's just what we are. We are 9.09ers. So, guys, we'll see you in our future videos.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.